If that was how I ended my sentence with you, how would our conversation go? So when we talk about prompting an LLM, that's the conversation that we're having. It even was so kind as to give me multiple choice.
And this is what people should be doing.
Talk about accelerated learning. What we just experienced is extraordinary. This is very good advice, by the way, I have to say.
Welcome to this short course on Alex, the exponential bot that knows everything about Exponential Organizations 2.0. Kent is here with me. Kent, you are essentially the creator of Alex, or part creator of Alex. Tell us a little bit about that creation story.
Yeah, the short version would be, as we were creating the book, Exponential Organizations 2.0, I realized or thought that wouldn't it be interesting, because authors never have enough time, right? Everybody wants to talk to the author. And I thought, what if a book is a proxy, and it's the author's voice, and in this case, many authors. What if it could speak for itself? That's what went through my mind. And I thought, is that possible? And you got to think about the timing. These days, you see a lot of chatbots that are over documents and things like that. This was January of 2023. And we were looking at this going, I sat down one weekend and I said, I wonder if I can talk to the book. Can I turn the book into an artificial intelligence using the current state of technology?
Hey everyone, just wanted to hop in here before Kent gets into the technical details. If you want to skip ahead to see us using Alex, you can use the timestamps over here, or you can pause the video in a second and look at the different chapters that are available. That's it from me. Enjoy the rest of the video.
And this was ChatGPT had just really been out a matter of weeks, at that point. LangChain, which is a really important underlying part of this as a library, was in its infancy. So I did it. I took the book, I turned it into a series of data files, and then I was able to take those data files and use some of the toolkit from LangChain. I kind of hacked it around a little bit, and just on my local laptop over that first weekend back in January of 23, I got a rudimentary version of this artificial intelligence, which was based on only on the contents of the book, acting as a sort of lens or filter on the world of data that is in the parent LLMs and large language model. In this case, that is OpenAI's ChatGPT 3.5 Turbo. And so I was able to turn the content of the book into a lens on the whole world of LLM knowledge and give an interface with my friends over at Messenger X to have the ability to have that conversation with the book. So now when you're reading the book, you have a companion, if you like. And that companion, if Salim or Peter says something in the book, you can challenge that. And the bot will react very much as if it was Peter or Salim, because it knows their voice. That's what we trained it on. And so Alex, she is a proxy for those authors. When you're speaking to Alex, this is the closest you can get without having an actual conversation with the authors at that moment in time and exploring what they might think deeper about something that's said in the book. And then the real magic is, because we married the core data set and the parsing capabilities to the larger LLM, it knows more. So you can push the bot way beyond what's in the book and go outside. And because OpenAI is constantly updating the models, you're getting new knowledge all the time. So we really do think that as a living book, this brings it very much to life.
Absolutely. And you shared some things there that people might have got a little bit lost. I got a little bit lost with some of the what?
Sure. Yeah, I don't know how much we want to go into the internals of how Alex works. I think maybe that's a whole other article or video or something like that, is something we could talk about. Maybe that would be TMI for this.
Yeah, if you want to know about that, actually write it in the comments, right? Like stick
let
it
us
down in
know.
the comments and say, no, Kent, we really do want to know that much detail. And if that's the case, head on over to the AI working group, which is a group within our OpenExO community. But let's get back to the reason we're here, which is a course on Alex, right? Why we know now a little bit why we created it, but people are going to go in there, and what we know we've noticed is some people ask one or two questions, and then that's really it. So, can you share a little bit about the capabilities, the limitations of Alex? And we're going to get really into detail throughout these videos, a little bit more detail about how best to prompt, etc. But can you share a little bit about those sort of capabilities and limitations?
Well, Kevin, I think one of the best ways to express this is to try something on you. Let's
Yeah.
show them. Let's not just
Yeah.
talk about it. So you and I, we've just met. We're going to have we've walked up to each other, and I think you look interesting. You think I look interesting. We're at some kind of networking meeting or something, and I come in and I say to you, hey, what's your name? I'm Kent. I'm with OpenExO, and you're like,
I'm Kevin. I'm a musician. Let's play a musician tonight.
oh wow, that's really interesting, Kevin. If that was how I ended my sentence with you, how would our conversation go?
I essentially would probably I'd just leave, or I'd say like,
Yeah,
oh,
because I didn't follow up. I totally killed the conversation. LLMs are the same way. So you don't go to Alex and say, "Hey Alex, I need an MTP. I want to save all the dolphins in the world." Right? And then Alex gives you back an answer, and then you expect it to be perfect, and then you walk away. That's just not normal in human conversation, and it's not normal in conversation with LLMs. So when we talk about prompting an LLM, that's the conversation that we're having with the bot, and in this case with Alex. And it's really important that you don't take that first answer and say, well, that's it. This thing doesn't know what's going on. One of the most powerful ways to then further engage with these bots, get through 2 or 3 or 5 or 7 layers, is to reflect. It's a technique in conversation and active listening that we call reflection. So as a service to the conversation with the bot, you need to reflect back. Now, funny enough, they gave this a name. In prompt engineering, they call it chain of thought prompting. In my opinion, it's just good sense. It's just good conversation. So, you just, talk to it. Pick up what it says. Say, hey, that's interesting. Give it a little more information. Ask it for more detail. If it's wrong, tell it so. Hey, that's not what I meant. And if I say, oh, I don't like music, do you do anything else? In our conversation, that might not work out for us in conversation or as friends, but at least it's a reasonable move in terms of
yeah.
the next stage of the conversation. LLMs are the same way. They are not human. They don't act like humans. However, they do respond extremely well to this type of conversational engagement. And those things have all kinds of fancy names. Like I've said, I use the phrase chain of thought. Chain of thought is a prompting technique where you use pieces of the reply in the next prompt again and again and again, creating a chain of the thought process. And this is one of the most powerful ways to interact with any prompt. You will see us do that in this course.
Absolutely. Now, before we jump into showing your screen, share a little bit about limitations. I'd rather we have people understand maybe there are some limitations to what Alex can do.
When it comes to the limitations of an artificial intelligence like Alex, which is of the chatbot variety, it is trained on a wide variety of almost a decade worth of the implementation of ExO. It actually knows a lot more than the book. But one of the problems with these types of bots, it's called hallucinations in the marketplace. And if it doesn't know something, these bots have a tendency to fill in the blanks the best they can. And it is up to the human to recognize when that is happening. One of the prime examples that we run into with Alex of this type of behavior is when you ask it about the EXO attributes. And this is tricky because it comes down to the English language, right? It gets a little confused. So what are the attributes of an EXO? Well, if you've read the book, you know that there are 10 attributes in Scale and Ideas plus the MTP. So there are 11 of them. And you would expect Alex, if you know what you're asking for, to come back with those. Well, it might not, though. It might come back and give you the attributes of an organization. It has a good accounting system. It works in an agile way. It doesn't have enough sense sometimes to know contextually what you're asking. But when you go back to that chain of thought, if you say to it, hey, those are attributes of an organization that's operating in an exponential organization. Thank you. However, what I mean are the attributes of EXO. I'd like to talk to you about scale and ideas, and then hit enter. If you do that, you're going to shore up that weakness with your knowledge, the human being. So that's one. And sometimes it'll invent things like case studies. So hallucinations are critical. You'll find it comes up with some whole case study about an EXO, and then you go and you try to find that in the book, and it's not there. Some people view this as bad because they want the LLM to be like a dictionary lookup on the book. It absolutely is not. It is not designed to do that. If you want that, search it with your Kindle, and you'll be fine. You'll get exactly what you want. But if you want to have a conversation with a book, you have to give it more creative latitude. And so I view the hallucinations as creativity in a way, and I try to exercise my own human judgment over whether I want to use that output in my productivity or not. These AI have what we call a limited context window, and you can only stuff so much into what we call the prompt. Now, over time, that prompt context window, and think of that as how many pages of the book you can sort of shove into that input box for it to analyze and come back with some sort of answer. So as a result of having a limited context window, sometimes you run out of room to ask it what you want to ask it. In addition to that, this bot, Alex in particular, has a form of memory. It remembers the last couple of dozen portions of your conversation. But if you have a conversation over the course of an hour, you might have 50 back and forths with Alex. It will start to forget what you talked about back at the beginning of the conversation. This is a definite limitation. This is not just a limitation of Alex. It's a limitation of LLM technology, and it's one of the hottest areas of research in LLMs right now. Those are a few, Kevin.
Okay.
And I'm sure we'll uncover others as we go along.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're going to move on to now is to really look at prompting. So we're going to jump into Alex. Kent's going to be sharing his screen, and we're going to start by doing some examples of how to use Alex. Now, we're not going to necessarily get into more advanced prompting. We'll maybe keep that for a little later. So we're going to start off, you're brand new, you've never used Alex. And so let's jump into that, Kent.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kevin, what I'm hoping we focus on are real world type use cases. I want people to be able to use Alex to get work done, to do the thing they need to do, to become an EXO, to persist as an EXO, to grow as an EXO. So I think that's crucial. And it's a wonderful tool for that when used appropriately.
Absolutely. And so to use Alex, all you need is one thing, which is an EXO pass. So you can head over to openexo.com/chat, and ultimately that will bring you to Alex. If you're not logged in with your OpenExO pass, you will have a sign up or login screen, and you can then log in and begin a conversation with Alex. So Kent, what do you think we should be asking Alex? In my opinion, every EXO starts with an MTP, and that's always a great example that we could potentially start with.
So let's start with the MTP and go from there. So if I'll use my own MTP today as the test case. So let's say I have a draft MTP. My MTP is empower people with technology. I've actually had this MTP for a really long time. I do think it needs upgrading because my mission, my purpose, some things have changed in my life. And so this is a real world situation where I might come to Alex and say, hey, Alex, I want to upgrade. So I'm going to say so, right? My MTP is to empower people with technology. I've been using this MTP for a while. I'd like to consider new variations that support more impact and regenerative systems focus. Okay, so I've just made this up on the spot, by the way, but it's not far from the truth, right?
Yeah.
So let's go with that. So my MTP, and sometimes with Alex, everybody, it is a good idea if you wanted to focus on certain things. And this is again true of all LLMs. But if you put things in quotes, if you type things in all caps, if you say pay extra attention to this, those little things matter. So I'm gonna go ahead and
Yeah.
put my MTP in quotes, and let's see what happens here. Okay, so when Alex opens up, you can expand it, and you can see here Alex has done quite a bit of thinking, so we're going to need to go through this. So that's a great MTP, empower people with technology. It's commendable that you've been using this. So you can see that we've told Alex to be supportive, right? So it is often very positive and very supportive. If you want it to beat you up and roast you, it's not the best AI for that, but yeah, it is always trying to be supportive. You're looking to explore new variations that support impact and regenerative systems focus. Here's a few ideas. Empower people with sustainable technology. Okay, that's interesting, right? And look what it does. I love this. It gives you a reason for the suggestion. All
Yeah.
right, so that's pretty good. So I like that. Empower people through collaborative technology. Okay, that's not really what I was going for.
Mm.
Not a bad suggestion, but not really what I want. Empower people with ethical technology. No, I'm not going there because that is a crazy hot button that I don't want to deal with. Empower people through circular technology. So it's tapping into concepts around the circular economy. Not really my thing. So I'd say of these four, I'd go with number one. And you'll notice that it has numbered these suggestions, which means I could reference that.
Let's go with number one, and I'd like to move beyond just technology. I think my work is more about the intersection of business and technology and how it can drive impact in the world at large. With that in mind, let's look at three variants.
Now, what's really important about what you're seeing me do here, I wasn't enamored with any of those four, but I'm not done yet. We're going to keep going. And I've given it more context, more information. And this is where these AI can be incredible brainstorming partners. So I'm going to go ahead and go with that. And let's see what we come back with. And in my case, Kevin, this has become a realization of mine that just focusing on technology alone, while I certainly spend a lot of time implementing and helping and delivering technology into companies, it's a fraction of what I really do on a day-to-day
Yeah.
basis. And so I need to figure out a way to express that in my MTP. So absolutely, building on the MTP variation, empower people with sustainable technology. Critical. Do you see? It picked up on the labeling. When the AI doesn't give you those labels, tell it to. And there's an advanced version of that where you can even make it build tables. We don't need that yet, but that's really helpful. All right, so empower people through sustainable business models. Okay, it heard me, but I don't know that that really captures my essence. The second option that it gave us was empower people through technology-driven social enterprise. Okay, that's actually kind of interesting. Why? It focuses on using technology to support and scale social enterprises that address pressing social and environmental challenges. I do like that. I don't know if it's everything, but I do
Mm.
like where they're heading with that. So let's hold that thought. And then a third option is to empower people through technology-enabled impact investing. That's not really where I'm going. So I'm going to go with number two.
Okay, I like number two. However, I want to focus more on organizations, specifically exponential organizations. And I'd like a variation on the word empower. It's good, but there can be a better word. Some ideas, please.
Now, a little quick tip. If you want, you can just click the little arrow here to do the next thing. But there's a shortcut for your keyboard. You can hit Control Enter. All right. So now we're going to elevate people through technology-driven exponential enterprises. Neat. That's gotten bigger, right? This
Mm.
is a more massive transformative purpose, basically.
Yeah.
Or we're going to enable people through technology-driven exponential ecosystems. That's a tough one. Empower people through technology-driven exponential empires. Probably not going to go for empires domination. So very good. Now, so we've illustrated here, and this is okay. We don't need to get to my perfect MTP
Yes.
in this demo, Kevin. What I wanted to show is that you can keep extending the conversation. I just demonstrated chain of thought prompting. in this by lifting parts of the answers, putting them back in, augmenting them with my own thoughts, really being in dialogue with the artificial intelligence. That's the trick. Never take the first answer. It's never good enough. Almost never. And
Absolutely.
always consider digging in a little bit and pushing it further. So one last fun little trick. This can be a kind of a little tip.
Great suggestions. Put all those MTPs in a table format with a column explaining the strength of the MTP and another column explaining the weakness.
And this is just a way for me to show everyone the table formatting capabilities, which are super, super useful. I mean, because now that it's in a table, you can reference the columns and rows. You can say column 2, row 3, and be that specific. And that is incredibly powerful for deepening your interaction with these outputs. So you can see it even went back through the entire conversation, which is really nice. And it gave me my strengths and weaknesses. So I think I've made progress. And Kevin, that's a great example of how to use Alex to talk about coming up with your ideal MTP.
That is amazing. Now, let's go to the book for those people who are reading the book and they're brand new to exponential organizations and they're reading the book and perhaps they come across a portion of the book where they have a question. How could they use Alex in reading the book?
Okay. So what we'll do is this is the book, and I've got it side by side here, so it's going to kind of go into the mobile view mode, but that's okay for this demo. So on the right-hand side, we have Alex, who I'm going to reset. This is another tip. When you're having conversations with Alex, remember what I said. It tries to remember your last couple of dozen exchanges as context. And you saw that when I did generate the table. It remembered parts of the conversation from several discussions ago. It's really important if you want to have a fresh conversation with Alex to click that reset button or click the hi button. They do the same thing. Okay. So I've reset Alex and I've gone to the book here at openexo.com/book and I've clicked read. And here's the chapters. So let's pick artificial intelligence and algorithms because that's what we're talking about today. And so let's talk about it, a little bit of inception going on here, but it'll be fun. So let's say why AI, Overcoming Human Cognitive Biases, is a chapter, a section in a chapter in the book. And if I'm reading this, and you can see that there are a number of bullets here, let's pick the overconfidence bias. Okay, so overconfidence bias, overestimating the accuracy of one's beliefs or predictions. This is where we have traditionally relied on human intellect and intuition for decision making. However, these processes are often flawed due to a variety of cognitive biases. Okay, great. And one of them is overconfidence. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to go over to Alex. In the book, you said, right? And then I'm going to take this overconfidence bias piece. So now I've just lifted a section of the book that I want to dig deeper on. I'm going to ask a question. If that's true, then what suggestions might there be? Okay, now this is what's really wild. That's not in the book, right? The book has only identified a particular bias that might exist that causes problems in the context of using artificial intelligence in human use contexts. So fine. So now remember, who wrote this book? Well, Salim Ismail, Peter Diamandis, with contributions from hundreds of other people. So you have a collective intelligence on your hands in this book. And now we've wrapped that in an artificial intelligence called Alex, and now we're going to have a chat about bias, specifically overconfidence bias. Overcoming the overconfidence bias can be challenging, but here there are strategies that can help mitigate its impact. Here are a few suggestions. Seek diverse perspectives. Engage with the individuals who have different viewpoints. It's very good advice. And you have to have an open mind, right, to do so. And that's part of what makes people leaders. So, you kind of want to look for that. If you're making a business decision, rather gather input from people with different backgrounds, experience, and perspectives within your organization, or consult external experts in the field. Encourage critical thinking. So this is deep, actually, because when you do that engagement with people, then you can implement the 5 whys, right? If this is the strategy you want to do, right? You can say, well, that's great. Why? And they tell you, and say, why? And they tell you, and say, why?
Why? Why? Why? Why? Why?
And if you go through this, now what you're doing in a somewhat annoying way, some people will tell you, you are, though, encouraging critical thinking. And then you introduce counter logic to their argument, and it gets even better, right? So this is very good advice, by the way, I have to say. Embrace feedback and data. Actively seek that feedback and data to both challenge and confirm your beliefs, right? Never skip. We're getting a little bit of a logistician's view here of how to strengthen your arguments, but keep a record of past predictions and KPIs. So, a lot of us know Ray Kurzweil. He's one of the prototypical examples of people who have done a great job of keeping track of their past predictions and then turning that into a whole career based on those predictions and being right or wrong, because he's right more than he's wrong. So here we go. By reflecting on your past predictions, you can identify instances where you are overly confident and evaluate the accuracy of your beliefs. Fantastic. Where did we start? We started by wanting to deal with, because maybe in our company, we're having problems where our team members are exhibiting overconfidence bias. They think they know more than they do, and they don't know what they don't know. So Alex here has been a wonderful tool to dig deeper into that in the context of this particular chapter and section of the book.
And this is what people should be doing whilst they're reading, because it just enriches the book tremendously, right?
Talk about accelerated learning. What we just experienced is extraordinary in terms of cementing concepts in your mind and getting you to a whole other level compared to anyone else. Now, there's 10 more ways you can go from here to even go further. Not really the topic of this video, but the point is that if you now say,
Okay, I love that. I need to teach this to my team. Please write me a brief curriculum to do so.
now, you've learned something, you've explored something, you've found something. You were reading the book, you used Alex to engage, to explore your deeper curiosities, and now you've realized that you've learned something that if you take this back to your team, you're going to make your team stronger. Okay?
Yeah.
That's wonderful. And so Alex here has now given us a short curriculum, introduction, understanding cognitive biases, seeking diverse perspectives, encouraging critical thinking, embracing feedback and data, reflecting on past predictions. And each of these, now Kevin, I will do this for one section.
One of them. Let's
This would be
dive
too
deep.
long if yeah.
Yes.
So, okay, wow, wonderful. Let's expand section 1 with more detail. Okay, you can do this each time for each section. This is where that memory component really is valuable, because now what I've asked it to write a curriculum, it's done, so it's giving me kind of an outline. But now I want one more level of detail from Alex. Now, from that point, I'm going to pick up the ball and run with it to teach my team. But now what you'll see here is it's going to expand on section 1, which is the introduction to overconfidence. I basically have a course here now on trying to help my team overcome overconfidence bias. And then there's one more fun thing you can do, because that's what this is supposed to be about. These are the ways I use Alex. Okay, create a 5-question quiz. Now, why might I do this for that section? If I'm going to take this and put it in an LMS and deliver it as a digital course to my team so that I don't even have to do it as a workshop, and I'm going to need those quizzes to validate that they learned what was in the course. And Alex here is going to help us do that. It even was so kind as to give me multiple choice. I wonder if it gave me the answers, though. Oh, remember, the correct answers are A for all the questions. So obviously in final format, I might mix that up. But very cool. I mean, seriously, how long did that take, Kevin?
I don't know, 3 minutes.
So it was like 4 minutes, okay? Something like that. Now, I cannot overstate enough how powerful that is. That is insane leverage. We just did the work of an entire team developing a course on overconfidence bias to improve our team. And I would say this would be good sales training, for example, or good membership support training, that kind of thing. And one person and an AI just did several hours of work in about 4 minutes that could easily be turned into an LMS course delivered to the entire company tomorrow. Kevin, I've thought of another thing I want to explain, and this is really, really fun. I'm going to do a reset here, and I'm going to show you one other thing. Again, I'm going to stick with this particular example because this is effectively behavioral psychology. And so if we go with illusory superiority in this case, now remember, I want to remind something I said before. This AI sees the world through the lens of exponential organizations and data and information that we've taught it for many years. But it also has the knowledge in it of OpenAI's ChatGPT 3.5 Turbo. So it knows a lot more than just about EXO. Now, it will tend to stay in its lane. We told it to. But what about when I want to go outside that lane? And we know we're talking about psychology. So
In the book, you talked about illusory superiority, overestimating one's abilities and underestimating the abilities of others. In the context of behavioral psychology, and especially gamification, how might I apply a framework like Octalysis in the context of the EXO model to support my sales team dealing with illusory superiority?
that is complicated, okay? Point is, book doesn't know that, right? And this is what I really want to encourage people, and so they can truly see the value of this. I've just pulled in multiple other concepts, ideas, frameworks, and I've done it in the context of something that was written in the book, but for a specific reason, and that's to train my sales team. And look what it has done. This is kind of insane, Kevin. In the context of the EXO model, you can apply the Octalysis framework to support your sales team in addressing illusory superiority. Here's how. Epic meaning and calling. Here, I'll go full screen here. Epic meaning and calling to create a sense of purpose and larger cause. Clearly communicate the impact of their work that has on the organization and the customers they serve. Development and accomplishment, empowerment and creativity. These are what are called core drives in Octalysis. Ownership and possession. I can't tell you. There is no other way that exists to do this completely and this fast. This is a superpower.
It's mind blowing, to be honest. And the thing is what we've shown here is just a few examples of how you could use Alex. But you could use Alex to, maybe you're trying to get your team to understand exponential organizations, and you're trying to to sell it to them. Well, hey, Alex could probably help you write an email about that. Perhaps you are trying to put together social media posts, and Alex might be able to help you with that, or summarizing sections in the book, right? Or using an exponential mindset to write a proposal, or just brainstorm ideas with your co-founders, around how best to maybe leverage all the attributes, or to look at technologies. It's just never ending, right?
Well, let's do that. Let's write it. Let's pretend that we've learned something we want to share with the rest of the team. I've said, let's compose this concept as an email to the team. Keep it brief and in business language. Don't be overly technical. But here we go. Here's subject, leveraging the power of motivation and collaboration in sales success. And then it's going to reference the Octalysis framework and how it can align with scale and ideas. I mean, this really is something I would give out inside of OpenExO for sure. It's done a pretty good job. Yeah, I think that's all right. It's a little long for an email, but that's okay. Yeah. I'm going to shift now from internal manager, trainer, whatever, to marketer. And I'm going to say, I want to now teach this new insight to the whole world on X.
Okay, I want to share this as a tweet thread on Twitter.
I don't know if Alex knows that Twitter became X. So let's see what happens here. So this is super powerful. Also, Alex is an incredible marketing tool. And you saw us just write an email with it. It can also be used to compose tweets, Facebook posts, LinkedIn posts. And you'll find that each time you do this, if you tell it which social media outlet you're going to publish on, it will act differently. It won't write you the same thing in every case. So here are several tweets that you could do. See what we got. Excited to share a concept that can generally benefit sales teams and foster collaboration by incorporating the principles of octalysis and EXO scale and ideas attributes. Awesome. That's exactly what I want. And then here's the next tweet where it's teaching you about epic meaning and calling. Here's the next one where it's teaching you about development and accomplishment. So this is a really, so I would personally, I would take these three things, I would put them in, I use Typefully, and Typefully would help me then organize them and fix up my tweet thread and then schedule it for publication.
Perfect. Kent, I'd like us just to do one other example, which is really just if we can reset there and brainstorm. The two of us are quite interested in regenerative agriculture and climate change. How does that link to EXO? Could we come up with an organization, a business maybe, with Alex's help?
Great idea. All right, so we're going to brainstorm the formation of an organization. This is where I think some people fall down a little bit with these types of tools. In a way, you kind of want to talk to Alex like it's a person. I reversed my policy, by the way. I used to say you don't have to be polite to these AIs. They don't care. I actually reversed that policy because it turns out that they behave differently depending on whether you're polite or rude to them. It's something about the way that they're actually trained. They do actually care. So I had to reverse my policy on that one. But here we go. So
I want to create a nonprofit organization that helps apply regenerative practice to feeding homeless or underprivileged families high-quality food every day. I want to be an exponential organization. So consider that while we brainstorm together.
So I tried to capture the essence of what you said there, Kevin. Let's go through that. Let's see what we get. Now, this is touching on something that I think it can't be overstated enough. There is no such thing as writer's block anymore. It doesn't exist. Anybody who's stuck, this is following this basic format that we're doing right now, you will get yourself unstuck in moments. Have the conversation with your buddy here, Alex, or honestly, any LLM like it. All right, so here we go. That's a great goal. Let's create a nonprofit that focuses on applying regenerative practices to feeding homeless or underprivileged families, high quality food. That's noble. And let's become an EXO. You can consider the following strategies. We need a purpose-driven mission. Clearly define your organization's purpose, okay, to attract, that's your MTP. To have a significant impact, aim to scale your operations and consider leveraging technology, so that's an attribute, leverage asset, leverage technology, and digital platforms. This is talked about a lot in the EXO books, to reach larger audiences and efficiently manage resources, develop a mobile app, adaptability, stay agile and adaptable. Again, these are all suggestions that are baked into the book. If you read the book, you'll find it is deftly summarizing wide swaths of the book here into bullet points. Leveraging abundance. Oh, that's interesting. Take advantage of the potential post-scarcity world by leveraging technology and digital solutions. Exploit partnerships with local farmers or food suppliers to ensure consistent supply of high-quality food. And then consider implementing sustainable farming practices. Okay, this is very good. Number 4, there are 3 businesses in there at least. We are no longer short on ideas. That took about a minute. Collaboration, ecosystem building. Okay. Data-driven decision-making. Of course. That makes perfect sense. So becoming an EXO is a journey that requires continuous learning, adaptation, and innovation by incorporating these strategies into your organization's DNA. Okay. I couldn't agree more. I think, Kevin, it was your thought. How would you like to refine that?
Yeah, so the really interesting thing here is that there are now 8 different ways of actually continuing this conversation, right? Alex has said there's all these things you need to do, and perhaps the next step is you actually then within your group can discuss and out of that say that's exactly what we want our business model to be, but how do we now take that to the next level? And
well, you gave me an idea to ask Alex to condense that into a meeting agenda for a group discussion with my team. So here's a meeting agenda for applying regenerative practices to feeding homeless or underprivileged families. Now, this might be one of 10 business ideas you're looking at, right? If you're really looking to start a new business with, say, 2 or 3 other people. It said something deeply, deeply important. Number 2 here. lots and lots of people start businesses because they think it's important. But then it turns out that there's not a big enough target market to make it viable in the long run. So this scalability concept is critical, and we'll touch on that because it's now part of this meeting agenda. See, strategies for scalability and impact. I built it right in there. And it's giving us a guideline of how long it thinks we should spend on that. So that's a pretty good example. This is another use. This is another kind of interesting tip or technique. I'm going to try it. Let's see how this works out.
That's great. I still feel a little overwhelmed. Would you pretend to be an interviewer? Interview me on my thoughts and ideas around this concept to help me discover and refine what I want.
What am I doing here? I'm actually flipping the script. I'm turning Alex into me and me into Alex. And I'm going to have Alex, what it should do, if I've prompted it reasonably, is it'll start quizzing me. And it's usually going to be pretty diligent. I'd be happy to help refine your thoughts and ideas. Let's start with some questions. Okay, so it's asked me a bunch. Okay, so thanks. Let's do those one at a time, please. This is a common thing that happens with these LLMs. They think they see the big picture all the time, so they're not like us. We can't answer 10 things in parallel, right? So absolutely, I'd be happy to answer your questions. So can you tell me more about your motivation behind creating this nonprofit and applying regenerative practices? So this is pretty funny. This is an example where I did not actually follow my instructions.
We don't make mistakes. We have happy accidents.
And that's
Yeah.
okay. It's actually gone ahead and done a sample answer as opposed to being an interviewer. That's okay. We can sort of ignore that and just answer anyway, right? So I'm actually not going to do that right now. Why don't we just, I can pretend and just take that. But you'd want to say something similar. Now, why would I do this? Because by turning Alex into the interviewer, what it does is it pulls out of me. It makes me think. It makes me connect other concepts and subjects and ideas in my mind in a way that, honestly, you just can't do without dialogue. And these AI can be a very, very powerful tool for that.
Yeah. Kent, can you think of any other advanced tips like you've just shared that people could use in order to get a specific response or to refine what they are trying to do?
I'm going to do an example with tables.
Make a 2-column table of the scale attributes. The first column are the row numbers.
Okay, so I'm just going to start there. And let's see if it does this for me. Sometimes they misbehave. Put that in a table format. It didn't listen, so I'm going to tell it what to do. There we go. And I didn't ask for it, but it gave me examples. So now what I want to do is
Add a column with a brief description of the attribute per row.
this is going back to what you said to me, Kevin, being very, very specific. And so here's the updated table. So now we have the scale attribute, a description, and examples. Remove the examples column. So it's being my little, kind of my data science friend here. And what I want to point out is I'm doing research. So this is me doing research on the book itself, using Alex to help me kind of make this faster. So we got a scale attribute and a description, staff on demand, ability to rapidly scale. All right, now.
Give me a third column with an activity we could try to run as an experiment in our organization with the goal of improving our company with that attribute.
The good thing about these LLMs, if your grammar is a little off, it doesn't matter so much. Spelling as well. I'm just going to leave that. It doesn't care, right? These things will correct your spelling for you. So what I'm trying to get at here is I'm trying to come up with a plan to implement the scale attributes on a quarter-by-quarter basis with experiments that I might run in my organization. Very, very specific. For staff on demand, it's now suggesting to implement the ability to rapidly scale up or down workforce based on demand, that we experiment with implementing a flexible work schedule or remote options to better accommodate fluctuations in demand and optimize resource allocation. Fair. Community and crowd. If we would like to engage and leverage the power of communities and crowds, what experiment might we run? With creating an online community platform or forum where customers can share feedback, ideas, and collaborate with each other to co-create products or services. That's a big one, right? That's a really good. Algorithms. And you can see I've gone just for the scale attributes here. So only one side of the model.
Yeah.
Very kind of specifically in this case, I did that because I wanted to be reaching out into customer or potential customer base, possibly create new customer segments through the implementation of these attributes. So this is a very coachy thing to do. Like I would sit down and do this with a customer if I'm their coach to empower them to have this kind of capability,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And leveraged assets. So what else? Create a platform or marketplace to connect individuals or businesses with underutilized assets to those in need. This one kind of goes back to that regenerative. I've actually got some very interesting, I think they're interesting. They're my ideas, but I've got some ideas of my own around that. So this is very real. Check this out. This is fun. I'm going to try something. I don't always know if they're going to work.
Add a fourth column with a ranking score from 1 to 100, with the highest number being the most impactful on total organizational value to stakeholders.
I'm being vague on purpose here with these KPIs because I don't want to over restrict at this stage. And so now what I'm trying to do here is I need to pick one of these to do next quarter. I'm going to tell my team, right? We're going to do this. Here we go. Let's take a look at this one I really liked, which was underutilized assets number 4, and it got a score of 70 out of 100 in terms of creating overall stakeholder value. So I would say, what about this one? Okay, this is super interesting, Kevin. Now I'm going to show you one more trick because I mean it never ends. Look, the more I do this, the more we talk, the more little tricks I'll share. But let me show you one more. So I started out thinking I wanted to do 4. Now I see that algorithms by far is the winner in whatever algorithm it used to subjectively choose. So we need to experiment with the implementation of machine learning algorithms to analyze customer data and personal product recommendations or optimize pricing strategies. Fine. So we're going to say that's what we're going to do next quarter. We're going to implement for the experiment we're going to design. We're going to go with the algorithms attribute to do this like this. What, how, and why. It's all here, right?
And of course, Kent, we've just done this hypothetically, but if you share more information with Alex about your type of business, what you're doing, how you work, you can then get a much more comprehensive score, right? This is very high level what we've been showing.
Yeah.
Just to show people what's possible.
Now look, that's not going to pass muster for coming up with a brand new quotient that you publish to your customer base and all that. That's not the point here, right? This is, you're sitting around, you're kind of spitballing and putting sticky notes on the wall and giving them, relative votes and things like that. But it's still very, very powerful. And so I think this is solid. Now, the reason I did this is it's very detailed. It's very in context for EXO. It shows how Alex, you might spend an entire day in a workshop to do what I just did in a couple minutes. That's what I'm trying to explain. Now, listen, that does not obviate the need for getting together in a room, grabbing a whiteboard, and doing this work. But man, it can make those 4 hours you might spend together worth 40. So it's just this in its very own self is the use of algorithms as a leveraged asset. That's what we're doing. That's what I'm demonstrating through the use of Alex. It is a very EXO thing if you want to talk about it in that context. And sometimes when I've done this type of thing, I do end up with a scoring model that I can then turn into something truly quantitative. And boom, now you've got something that you can use every single quarter in your business to improve your overall function and being EXO-ness over a period of time. Because if you do 1 or 2 experiments like this a quarter, deriving it using a technique like this, and you do that for quarter after quarter after quarter, by the time you get through, 10 quarters or so, you won't be the same company anymore. Yeah. You will have transformed. It's actually one of the most powerful, most subtle ways to turn a company into an EXO.
That is very, very true, Kent. And so for you who are watching, it's time to pause the video and to go over to Alex and to experiment. Start using Alex. Maybe create version 1 of your MTP and go ahead and share it. Jump over into Discord, the OpenExO Discord, and share it with the community. Share it online. Share it in LinkedIn. Use the tool and then get others to help you use the tool as well and share it with them. This is the way we really get people to understand EXO more, to learn more. And so that would be a great next step for you to take here on your exponential journey.
I would add, you're not going to break it. The power of play is the ultimate power. You've just been given, I mean, how many different tips and techniques and tools did we just share, Kevin? That was a bunch. There were 10 or 12 in there at least. Just try any of those. You're not going to break it. If your first conversation doesn't yield the outcome you want, do it again. Try a different tip technique. You know, we've made this available to our members effectively for free. It's a really powerful tool.
And so we hope you've enjoyed this short course, and we look forward to seeing you in the OpenExO community, building exponential organizations, either for yourself or helping others to do that. It is always wonderful to connect with our amazing community from around the world. And Kent, thank you so much for taking the time out to share this as well. Kent's there in the Discord. Do go and check it out. We're here to help people to build exponential organizations so that ultimately we can transform the world for a better future. We have an amazing future ahead of us. It's by understanding technology, understanding how new organizations work, that we're going to help as many people out there to do that. So Kent, final words from you. And that's the end of this short course.
Get out there and try it. Nothing, you're not going to hurt yourself. You're not going to hurt Alex. You've just got to try these tools and be confident in doing so. And we're going to help you do that. So just let's go.
Let's go.
If you enjoyed this video, click the thumbs up and subscribe for more videos like it. The YouTube algorithm thinks you'll enjoy this video.